Welcome back to Caffeine Confessionals. My name is Allan. I'm joined here by my lovely co-host, the Southern Luke Muncie,
What's up, guys?
the Vermontian Zoe Trimboli,
Hi, everyone.
and we are here today to talk about the challenge Battle for a New Champion, not just episode 3, episodes 3 and 4, because out of nowhere, MTV decided, hey, the ratings for our first two episodes were not that great. Everyone is so excited to see the MTV legends like CT and Cara Maria. Let's try and get to that as fast as possible. So here's two episodes at once. I hate the idea, but here's two episodes at once. We're going to try and break it down. This episode might go a little long. We might skip over some parts because it's two episodes of content we have to go through, but we're going to do it. Oh my God.
It is what it is. Crazy thing is, I thought both the episodes were really good. Like, they could have been standalone if people were watching, but people aren't watching. We're watching, but
Yeah. We're here for better or worse. And it was for better, I think, these last two episodes.
I find it so frustrating, honestly, because each of these as individual episodes had so much to talk about, just as individual episodes that we could have really dissected and broke apart because it had drama and showmances and strategy and eliminations and storylines to build people up. But because they all happen together, it just all blurs into one, and some things are going to get overlooked, some things aren't going to be really talked about as they should. I hate it. I hate it so much because this decision is killing the show more than not seeing the champs, in my opinion.
yeah. And who knows when the champs like Cara, CT, Darrell that people are maybe excited for when they're actually going to show up, because it could be somebody random next week.
Yeah, I'm hoping we start off with CT. I feel like that would, but I also understand wanting to save him and build that anticipation because when people see CT, they're not gonna, they might not come back. That might be what some people are looking to watch, but we'll see. I hope we start off at least strong. Like, we need a strong personality to start.
Yeah. We'll see, because I don't know. So let's jump into it, because I'm like trying to rack my brain. I feel like once we jump into it, things will start refreshing for me.
All right, so we're gonna jump straight into episode 3. Typically, sometimes we go through the drama portion, the daily challenge portion. We're just gonna go through this in chronological order, just because I think that's how the episode flowed a bit, as we had some drama that kind of went here and there. To start the episode, what do you want to start with? Do you want to start with Big T cooking for everyone and the party they had?
Somebody commented last week, we're so negative. I'm about to be negative again. I love that Big T's a chef. It was like a scene we didn't need to see. Could have been pulled out.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I have fun talking shit about the parts of this episode, a part of any episode that doesn't make sense. If that comes across as negative, I'm sorry. We do love the show. We can't stop watching it, but sometimes maybe this is just because I've watched it for too long and I feel like I have an idea of what reality TV formula is at this point. Where so sometimes I'm like, "Oh, that's what you chose. That's
Right.
what needed to end up in this episode." It's cute.
But to tie back into what I agree, to tie back into what Allan said, though, Big T is definitely the person they're projecting. Like, hey, this is the girl we love. You've known her for seasons more than anybody, besides maybe Melissa, I guess. But yeah, it was cute.
They try to give us the Big T corner every episode, and it's, it works sometimes. It doesn't work as well other times. I think it was more or less just to set up that they're having a fun day around the house. We had a lot of just bikini action and just people having fun. Something I gotta mention is they have that scene at the beginning of the episode where I just gotta talk about it because they literally panned in on it. Mariah talking with James and Ed, and it's literally just on her ass. It's literally there's no way to escape it, and then they come back to it a second time. It was
Right.
the most I couldn't. It just I was like, this is what?
Yeah,
it was just I couldn't ignore it.
Yeah. And because there's so much to talk about, forgive me, you're probably not going to love that I'm already saying this. I thought this was a big 2 episodes for Mariah. There's jokes on Twitter, things like that she's been lukewarm and needs to like spice it up. I know we're going to talk about it, but I thought she really came out of her shell this episode, showed a lot of redeeming qualities, in my opinion.
I think this cast is so attractive. When there's, I mean, Nerys just like takes my breath away all the time. I get like really distracted when she's on the screen. But that this whole episode, I was like, oh, Mariah's so hot, Nerys is so hot, Raven's so beautiful, like Melissa, all of them. You start like going down the line. I'm like, oh, this is such an attractive cast, and I think MTV was trying to capitalize on that a little bit. Why
Right.
just giving Mariah's ass just as much screen time as Ed had gotten until this episode. So I'm fine with it. You know, this is a group of adventurous, I want to say 20 somethings, but a lot of them are in their 30s too.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I'm with it though.
Yeah. We like the fun, we like the hotness, we like the hookups, and then we saw them in the hot tub together where we see the showmances bubbling. We have the Raven Kieran thing of whatever the hell that is, fake or not real game wise, whatever that is. Melissa and Kylan and Michelle, and then we see Berna having a decent time dancing in the hot tub, and Big T's laughing at it. Melissa's not even looking at it, but she takes this as
they were doing some catty stuff.
I was about to say the same thing. I like Big T and Melissa, and Berna's fine, but like she was trying to dance and have fun, and that's not fun when someone's like in the corner, like much as I love them.
And I think the problem is most people are either not aware that someone's doing that to them, or they're too uncomfortable to confront someone about it. So they just like don't say anything and internalize it. And that's not what happened.
Yeah. And there's already been like Instagram comments recently. So like if you see them on Twitter of people being like that, they weren't making fun. It was edited weird. We see the edit from what we saw. It looked pretty cut and dry.
And I know that Berna definitely puts off a lot of weird vibes. I think that she's strange. But I just have a hard time believing that that's how she perceived it and that it wasn't happening. Like, I believe her. I really believe her that that's what was going on.
Yeah, I do too. Now, how she reacted, I think we have to also give her some grace for calling Melissa a bully because her English vocabulary is limited. Like, English is not her first language. So, like, someone making fun of me, the simplest term for that is a bully. I can also understand Melissa not wanting that narrative. She's been on reality TV for a long time. She doesn't want to be called a bully. But like, Melissa could have very easily been like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Let me fix my face. But I guess that wouldn't call for good reality TV.
When that confrontation started, my immediate thought was, if I had a list of the entire cast in front of me and said, you have to have an uncomfortable conversation or a conflict with two people on this cast, they are the last two people that I would want to get into any sort of disagreement with for the exact reasons. Like, Berna, between the language barrier and also just like we've seen last week when like people are not saying things the way that she wants to hear them, she just doesn't listen.
Yeah.
And so she doesn't like even take a moment to try to understand what the other person's saying. She just wants to get her thoughts out and make sure people hear her. And Melissa just is a pop-off queen. That's what she is. I was just like, this is the worst possible combination of people to not be getting along.
But God, it was so good. And I loved, like, I took screenshots because it was so good. I like the people's faces around them that were just like, oh my God. Like, I don't know if you've seen the picture of the girl, the gift the girl that's like, even she was weirded out. Like, Nerys makes a face that's like, she loves drama on reality TV. And even she was like, whoa, this is kind of crazy. But I enjoyed it.
They did what I expected them to do.
Right.
It was great. It's great.
And from like just a game point of view, there's something always amazing of when the two people who are kind of at the bottom of the game start scrapping, and then like that's what like the next day like Melissa is like tries to like apologize to Berna in part because Melissa's like, ah, shit, like this might throw me into elimination. I have to make up to her. I can't continue this. Like, I think there is part of her who's like wants to like make up for it as like, a mom and an adult. But I think there's also a bigger part of her is like, no, we need to be friends, Bruno, or else they're gonna vote us in right now.
Yeah. And I think part of it too is like, if I really were not bullying her, should my reaction have been so large? Like, I feel like if I said, Zoe, you're bullying me, she'd be like, oh my gosh, what do you think I did? Like, let's talk that out. We're also not on TV, so I get that. And I want to backtrack just a second, real quick. The funniest thing of the whole thing was when the lamp broke, which I'd heard Melissa broke it, but it looked like Berna did. And then they're like, where's Berna? She fled the house. I had a good laugh. But anyway,
That was
sorry.
hilarious. At first, I was like, did a producer say she fled the house? And like she's out in the woods somewhere and no one can find her. Like I was really hoping that's what was going to happen. It was going to be like the cast searching for Berna in the woods, because that would have just iconic.
Yeah.
Take notes, whoever's on the next season.
Which, fingers crossed, there's one.
40, yeah.
They will. They will.
But,
and it'll probably be great. This one's great. Like, let me not be negative. It really is. I enjoyed it so much. We also get some more with Raven after the elimination and kind of her backlash. Am I jumping too far ahead? I know you've got a list, I think, but is that next?
Go into it.
I think that Raven recovered quite well. This whole thing of voting yourself in, I'm tired of TJ saying, oh, that's so honorable. It's the smartest decision to not make someone mad. But like, she came in, she's like, hey, I had no ill intentions of like screwing over my friends. I was just looking out for a person I'm interested in. She understood the perception. Oh yeah, go for it.
no, I was just saying she should have stopped right there.
Oh, true. Yeah, I mean, she kept, a little bit this episode and the next, like blurting, whatever. But I think her plan to just not say anything is going to help her out. Because realistically, the ride or die girls plus the Americans, which last week I said there's no American alliance. There clearly is. My bad. But that's going to carry her deep into the game. It's like Spies, Lies, and Allies when all the vets who hated each other were like, well, if we stick together, we at least make it to this week. It's smart gameplay.
Yeah. And the fact that even Nerys was like, I don't really care for her. I think she's kind of unpredictable. I don't really trust her, but I will keep her around for a while. Like,
Yeah.
She's in a good position. She should keep that position as long as possible. There's no reason to rock that boat.
Yeah.
I am glad that she also took the step back and was like, you know what? I'm actually really bad at this game. I actually don't know what I'm doing here. Like, I'm making every rookie mistake possible, and I'm not even a rookie. It's like, that was the level of awareness we've needed, I think, from Raven at this point, because to this point, it felt like she's someone who knows everything, but doesn't know everything. But like, she's like, no, she took a step back and is now playing the game a little bit better, but she's already put a target on herself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and once a target has been established, it's hard to make it shift in that short a period of time.
Yeah, I would agree.
You guys want to talk about the daily challenge?
Yeah. So, who wants to explain it? Because I can, but don't know if I want to. I will. There were three groups, I guess. 2 people solving a math equation, 4 people on a stand calling with one actual speaker, and the rest of the people in go-kart buggy types. And the people with the math equation had to solve a math equation. If they got it correct, relay that to the speaker, Michelle, who then yelled it out to the people in the cars, the buggies, whatever the case may be, and make the equation.
Yeah, all the buggies have different digits on them, so they have to get in their correct position to replicate that equation that they just solved.
I didn't hate it because like it's a daily where they're all working together, but you get to see some individual strengths, at least for the caller and the math people. And also, like, it's pretty high stakes. If you mess up the math problems and get none of them, there's a clear target. So I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I mean, half the people ended up being wallpaper in that challenge. I would like to tweak it in a way that makes everyone an active participant. But it was cool to see like a couple dynamics, like even just like Huhui and Horacio being together and stuff like that. Just cute little friendships that we weren't really totally aware of, or relationships that had a chance to get some screen time, I guess, really.
Yeah.
And for once, they actually came up with some like decent strategy ideas. Like, hey, if we're gonna put two people in a car, let's put someone who's not great with English with someone who is awesome at English, who can translate for them. That's like a very simple detail that they got right for once that they usually mess up on.
Yep.
Yes, but also not something I intended to ever be a factor on MTV's The Challenge. Like I'm not sitting here hating the international folk at all. Like a lot of them have brought so much. But I said it last week, it makes me uncomfortable to see people who cannot communicate with people they're living with. How miserable would that have to be? I can't imagine.
Well, it makes a game that's already hard, like mentally and socially, that much harder.
Yeah.
They're definitely at a disadvantage when it comes to that. There are certain people whose English is stronger than others. And then you have people like Colleen who are like, I'm just going to not say much at all because I don't want to miscommunicate anything. And I think that's just her personality.
Yeah.
Michelle was really good in her role as speaker, just as like a note. And Kylan, Ed, and then Jay came in with some help on the math. They're pretty good. The math was actually pretty hard this time around. I'm going to be honest. Like, this was not the easiest math problem because you could only use the 8 numbers in play. If it was anything else, then it kind of became a bit difficult. I mean, usually the math on this show, it's like I get it done in like 2 seconds. This one I actually like had to pause and like think about it for a bit.
It's a puzzle for sure.
Yeah, I just waited till it was done because I wasn't going to try.
I have a hard time just like, because I'm not writing it down with them. So they only show it for such short periods of time that I'm like, oh, I can't even see what's been done or what hasn't been done. The last two I noticed were just, there was a number that had repeated. And I was like, if there's a number that's repeated, that means they're probably using all the same numbers just in a different order. And I couldn't remember what the first two looked like because I was like, oh, is this all just repeated numbers? But I don't think it was. But the last two were definitely related to each other. So.
And there were multiple ways to solve. Like, I think every single one I was able to solve, but it was a different answer than what they had, but it was still correct. Because you could still flip numbers in certain ways and it could work.
Yeah.
They actually did it though. Congrats to them. They won $50,000. Finally, they're not losers. They were very happy about it. Good team win. Finally, great.
Yeah, it was a good morale boost. Like I've needed them to win. I needed them to have something to celebrate. I thought Kylan was going to be in a little trouble for a second when they struggled so much with that third equation. Jay came in and like solved it. When they sent Jay back, I was like, why are we sending Jay back? Like maybe keep him here. So I was glad that didn't bite them in the ass, that they were able to figure it all out and everybody got like their little shining moment.
I agree. And I read someone's article recently where they were talking about like the faults of this season, and winning this season feels like winning a silver medal, which I don't feel that way. But if you have multiple episodes of them losing the dailies and not being able to get it done, it does give off that air a little bit. So I hope this can like keep the naysayers down a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Now I'm trying to think, what did they do after the daily? Did they party?
They went to a club.
Okay.
Mostly it was, they went to, we had some Michelle and Callum scenes where Jay's kind of warning her, like, oh, am I your true number one? He's smarter than you think. Don't, whatever. Feels like some hater vibes.
And maybe he just watched Vendettas recently and watched Kara screw over Leroy for Kyle.
Yeah, that's true. I wish I could in that moment shake Jay though. Well, maybe not. But like Michelle, when she says like, you're my number one, don't worry, I believe her on that because Michelle's so upfront about her like flirtations and relationships. She would be like, I really like him, Jay, I'm sorry. And also Callum's not a bad dude to have in your back pocket. Like he is very smart. But if they're going to target an American guy, Michelle could be the person like, hey, just don't let it be Jay. So like, I don't think I would be asking her to pull away at all, even though she should because he has a girlfriend. But she doesn't know that.
It makes me wonder sometimes, like, if how much of Jay's personality we don't see. Because it just was a weird vibe. I was like, bro, whatever you're saying is not going to work. And you're just making her uncomfortable. And she's telling you to stop. She's telling you you're good. Like, I just am so curious about his interactions with other people in the house. And, like, it gave me a weird vibe. It was a little bit of an ick for me.
I'm going to be a hater for a second, so comment below, I guess. I don't know. I don't, whatever. I think that Jay is somebody who, if you really think about it, has done several different types of reality shows. He lives in LA. He attempts to be an influencer. I mean, he might be. I think about the people he's hung out with off screen. After Jordan and Tori broke off their engagement, she stayed with him like at a beach house for like 4 days. Like he just has like such a wide array of like lives he's lived. I think he just adapts to the situations he's in. And this season, he feels like I'm a top dog. I can maybe make some of these moves. And it is reading a little bit like, ooh, you don't have, the power to really be saying stuff like this.
He also has mentioned that he's the smallest guy in the house. So he's still like aware of the fact that like he can be a prime target for certain eliminations, like in perpetuity because he's small.
Little man syndrome. He's insecure.
You said it, not
that. He is afraid of getting called out and just getting Rogan'd again. That's always a fear of his.
I say that, but Jay's also somebody I think could win a final if he were in a final.
Yeah.
So, like, don't think I'm completely hating. And I like Jay from Survivor, so.
No, he totally could win. He's a big threat to win, but that's a big reason someone would call him out in elimination in a size-based elimination.
Yeah.
I was getting more of the vibe in that scene that it's like the type of person who's, because Jay and Michelle had like dated or had their fling before, where it's like it's only the person who's into you when you're with someone else type scenario, which is like I think like that's like the worst type person.
Well, because he made a comment on episode 1 or 2, like a workout montage. He's like, I don't like they're hanging out because maybe I want to talk to Michelle. And he very well could have meant as an alliance member, but I think you could be right. Like it's some insecurity of, oh, I used to date her.
Yeah, and he's gotten kind of like snubbed by the last few girls he's dated. Like they've dated him and then moved on pretty quickly to somebody else and have no interest in looking back. So it seems just based on what we see on TV. So maybe he's just feeling a little insecure.
Yeah, despite coming in having a girlfriend. I mean, so maybe he just plays it up for the TV. I don't know.
We also had one more scene at the club, and it was Huey remembering that Raven voted him in the day before. And it was honestly, it made me laugh because it looked like he didn't really even process it till like 36 hours later.
Like, oh yeah, I do have a reason over her. Cool. Great. Why would you do that?
Huey is so unhinged, and it's perfect for reality TV with an asterisk that says "not the challenge."
Honestly, we had Eric Banks on the challenge for
That's
years.
true.
Like, Huey is like likable and like fun and does surprisingly well at some things. Like he's not like, if I lived through Big Easy, I can live through anyone, I think.
Yeah. And you know what? Let me backtrack because we'll talk about him later this episode. He's chaotic. And that is what I like in a person that's on my TV screen. So I'll take that back. Because you said Big Easy and I got scared of what we could have otherwise.
And I just think about like what people used to say about like Casey Cooper, right? Like when she was on the challenge in the beginning. Casey made herself look pretty useless on the challenge for season after season, but I loved her and I would not trade her for anything. There's certain people, if they have enough sparkle, like bring them on. I think honestly, like Big T has strengths, but in some ways Big T is kind of in that same category. Like I don't think she can win a challenge, especially not individually. But I'm glad she's here.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
Plus, considering like how keyed in on the game some of the men are, it's good to have a personality like Huey, at least for a few episodes. And something interesting though is that like Olivia had just had all these scenes like being Huey's friend, just them like together, and like Olivia really has not mattered this season at all. And it's because she's in a really good spot game wise, but it's been very underwhelming to me compared to how big of a character she was on Ride or Dies and how much she's being plastered as like one of the faces of the show.
She's done nothing yet. I'm sure whenever the confessional count comes out, she had a ton of confessionals tonight. And she also has tons of like pan scenes or it's like to her face or like to her having a conversation. So I feel like this is going to be a slow build. I know that they were like really banking on her and Horacio being like fan favorites last season, but I'm sure she's going to show something else.
Yeah, we have to put in perspective how big the cast still is at this point, that they're trying to diversify that story. She also doesn't have Nelly to make out with this year
Yeah.
or this season, so thank God for that for her. But yeah, no showmans currently.
I was so excited because I thought we would get a lot of Olivia, and it just hasn't happened yet. And I do hope it does build up. Moving to the deliberation, it's pretty clear it's going to be Raven. I mean, once Berna and like Melissa apologized, like the dust settled, it was going to be Raven.
Yeah. The girls come up with a really good plan, in my opinion. And maybe I think Zoe's going to disagree. Ooh, I can't wait. I think it was smart for the American girls who didn't want to upset Raven. I just do.
I don't think it was necessarily a bad plan. I just don't know that it was a necessary plan. But at the same time, like I think it's fine. Whatever you want to burn votes, whatever. That's fine. Let the guys make a decision. Corey's reaction to it was so outsized. It did not make any sense. Corey like getting like on his high horse and having like this little hissy fit about the girls saying like, we're leaving this in your hands, guys. Figure it out. And him being like, well, maybe it's gonna come back to bite you. Like,
It's like they're giving you power.
yeah, like I get it. You're frustrated because you don't want to look like the bad guy. And so you feel like they're putting that on you. But some thoughts can just stay inside your head.
Right. He could burn a vote just as easily.
The whole time I was just like, I don't really get why any of this is happening right now, but whatever. If that's what you want to do, if you think this is helping you like keep the cards close to the chest, do it.
And it was Narice's idea, correct?
Yeah, Nerys is playing Little Puppet Master this
season. Yeah. And I also feel like she on her Instagram story the other day was like, I absolutely love Cam. She's so smart. She's so whatever. I think she was, and I love Narice. She's my favorite right now. I think she saw Cam make her big move on Final Reckoning to save her friends and to also like not put blame on herself, and thought, let me have a move like that. Not quite, but it's the start of something perhaps.
They're just trying to keep the peace as much as possible. And I think that they went about it through the angle of like, all the girls want to support each other. At least that's how they were selling it.
Right.
But some people saw through it and some people did not.
I just also find it strange that it's this unspoken rule that it's going to be a girl. Jumping ahead on episode 4, they're like, hey, it's a gauze elimination. I wonder if production was kind of like, hey, let's move this kind of how we've been moving it because it makes sense. Because they very easily could have all banded together and gotten out a guy. Like Huey could have voted with them. Like he was so tight with Olivia, he probably would have listened to whatever she had to say.
I think everyone's afraid of making too big a move right now. Might get one part of it, because making it a huge move to get out one guy when there's still that many left. Like, no, there's enough people that are trying to fly under the radar, or at least
That's
just,
true.
Not become a target, especially when they know there's so many people who are still expendable at this point.
Yeah.
It was also just so evident too that like Raven was the biggest target coming into the week, that like it was decided before the daily challenge. Even Raven knew that, and she's like, "Oh man, I got to do something during this daily challenge," and she had like no ability to even do so.
Right.
She's just like fake giving directions, like Huey's not doing the best here, like almost trying to like paint a target as one. And I'm like, I don't think she's doing badly at all. It was a good try though. They get to the arena. The women burn their votes on different men each, and then all the votes go to Raven. Raven has to call someone out, and she calls out Huhui, which I thought made sense because I don't think Huhui's a very good player.
Yeah. I didn't watch Argentina, but I did watch World Championship. And sweet as can be, not a good competitor. I feel horrible. I feel most bad for her. She clearly struggles for the English. I mean, she talks about in this episode. Thank God she had Horacio, but yeah, she's just not that good.
I think she's so sweet. Like, I love her. But I think Raven saw, sand, dirt. Hui, one, is a tiny girl, and two, she does not have that dog in her. Like, she just doesn't. She's too nice. There are just some people who have that scrappiness in them. Like, I think in a physical thing, that Melissa is beatable, but she also has that dog. Like we've seen that multiple times. Like that's not who you want. You
Right.
want to pick someone that was the perfect choice. Hui was the perfect choice for that elimination. I think everyone was bummed because they do love her so much, but you can't blame Raven. That was the right choice.
Well, and as far as alliances go too, she's the least aligned person. So I'm with you completely, Zoe.
The elimination itself. Let's just talk about it real quick. Just acknowledge it. It was there were 3 poles buried in the sand, and the players had to run towards the middle where the mound is, dig up the 3 poles. The first player to get 2 poles out of the 3 and bring it back to a box on their side wins the round. You can tackle your opponent as long as you're within like a semicircle type thing.
It's like a ring within a ring.
Yeah. The first round, Hui gets actually gets the second pull before Raven, because Raven is just, both of them have their faces buried in the dirt. They're not even looking at each other. Hui just happens upon the pull and wins the round. This elimination was not close. I want to say this. It was 2-1. Hui won the first round, but a lot of it was based on not even luck, but Raven playing the elimination poorly, and then the luck factor for Hui grabbing the pull. Once Raven got a hand of it, like, she just dominated the rest of the elimination. She had more endurance. She had more dog in her, like Zoe said. I think it was a blessing that Hui was as close as she was, but like Raven should have won 2-0.
Right.
Once Raven started listening to Mariah, like Raven, I was like, Raven, again, I think she has like good things about her as a competitor, but she had no strategy. I could not believe once it's tied, you are shadowing that other person and you are making sure you are in between them and their box. So wherever they're digging, you're in between them. That's the strategy. And unless you feel like you're that lucky and you want to play the odds that you're going to be the one that digs it up first, that's just what you do. So the fact that neither one of them was thinking that way blew my mind in that first round. And then Mariah was basically like, Raven, get it together. Like, if it's fine if you want to dig one up and get it back there, but you have an advantage here. Use it.
Yeah. Who we lost.
Yeah. And Raven won, and it's the better outcome because Raven has more storylines to bring to the show, just more overall to bring to the show. I love Hui. I think she's a sweetheart. She should not be on the show at all. Like, she just doesn't have the competitive edge to her to like thrive in an environment like this on top of the language barrier. Hilariously, the person who was most invested in this elimination was Horacio. It was the most he's ever cared on the show. It's the most vocal he's ever been. He wanted Hui more to win than he did in any of his eliminations.
Yeah, and rumor has it, confirmed by Norris on her Instagram story the other day, because I keep up with this stuff too much, but that they were kind of hooking up on the low. And someone asked Norris on like an Ask Me Anything, did Horacio have any showmances before you? And she's like, actually, yes. I don't think it's going to be shown, but when he gets back from his show he's filming now, let him speak on that. And like at the club scenes, I'd like peeped in the background and stuff, having that knowledge. So this could have been the biggest shift to allow for Horacio and Norris to come together.
Also, I was thinking one of the things that Hui said when she was eliminated that she was ready to go back to her boyfriend. And
and that's what I was going to say. I'm so glad you said that. After she was eliminated, it was all over like the Argentinian like news, probably like pop news, but like that she was devastated because when she left, she found out her boyfriend had cheated on her.
Oh.
It was huge news. So like maybe her and Horacio didn't hook up, they just flirted, which I don't think is the same as like actually cheating on someone if you're like on a show. There's dynamics to that. But yeah, poor sweet thing.
Well, like if she did cheat on her boyfriend with Horacio and whatever, then I don't really feel bad for anybody. But
yeah.
If she didn't and she went home, she's too nice for that.
Yeah.
Bye, Hui. Nice to see you. I think she would have been a great character on like a Fresh Meat type of season, like paired with the right person, and then you get to like just see her being like cute and fun. I liked watching her in the cart with Horacio for that reason. I think she like brought a good light demeanor to the show.
Did you watch World Championship by chance?
Yeah.
Her being paired with Nelson like didn't help her case any.
I want to see her with like a Darrell or like a really established male, you know?
Yeah.
Just to, because I think that she strikes me as someone that with the right partner could just like take direction and do things.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't.
Right.
Horacio just looks so happy with her. He just looks so like night and day compared to who we see as like a guy in the typical show. And I am laughing a bit that he was kind of like throwing judgment onto other people. It's like, oh, we got this showman's here, this showman's here. I'm not really about that though, knowing that he's now in like one of the biggest showmances on the show and maybe had a thing with Hukui on the down low. I love that. I love just the hypocriticalness of it, but is that a word?
Yeah, that's fine. That was also kind of his arc when he first started last season.
Yeah.
Because all the girls were like, ooh, new meat, thirsting
Yeah.
over him, rightfully so.
He said no. And this is a complete side note, and please forgive me. I love Nerys. I'm really worried about their trajectory. I think she's going to be heartbroken. Like I don't know. I think he's going to get really overwhelmed by like all the attention. He's also filming a show right now until February. Like that's a long time to be away from someone you just got together with. I hope that I'm wrong. They're very cute together, but I'm scared.
Now we'll see. Or it's all just a game, and they're planning for a future Exes season that they would slay.
Oh God, they would be my number one team actually. Well, just Nerys. I'm very team Nerys since she's made her challenge debut. I liked her before. She's got a lot of haters. I am not one of them.
I've been like waiting for Nerys to be on the challenge, so I'm with you there.
We're all in on Team Nerys, and she has a war. She just has a mountain of haters. It's like incredible, but she's bringing everything we need for this show.
Yeah, and she's being used like at these like promotional events and things. Like she was at a Raiders game with Casey and such. Like I think they're all in on her, and I love to see that with an MTV girl because the show used to just be MTV. I know we had to change. I know we had to, but I'm so happy that somebody from a past Are You the One season got the chance that so many others deserved.
Yes.
Episode 4.
Episode 4, we move back to the house. Raven, she's feeling herself after a win. She's trying to settle back, try and be a little bit more low key. Then we have.
I said that for last episode. Forgive me because I was talking about this one. Sorry.
Yeah, it was good. We're still good.
Together, you know.
Yeah.
It's a lot of challenge. It's a lot of challenge. We got a Zara scene finally. After 3 episodes, we actually get some real Zara stuff. And apparently Corey, during that little interaction between them, he tried to talk to the guys and try to get Zara thrown into elimination, which that's a big move because Zara's a very good competitor, as we saw on the Challenge UK and World Championships. And Zara's like, well, let's get him back. And we see we're finally seeing the dynamic of like the women against the men in a way that makes sense a bit because they actually are competing for only one winner, and Zara can probably outrun Corey in a final.
Yeah, and Zara's not in the American Alliance. Like even if she doesn't care this much, like get these girls riled up. Like make them vote in one of their own in solidarity with you because they like you. I thought this was a great episode for Zara to kind of come out of her shell. Not that she wasn't on UK, but like so far she's not on here.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people, so many big personalities. So there's like past relationships, there's hookups. It's hard to grab that spotlight. So I was happy to see her acknowledge that she was wronged by someone and be like, I'm not just gonna take this. I mean, I'm not the one. Like, I'll be able to get over it potentially, but like, if you take a shot at me, I'm gonna take a shot at you.
Yeah.
Zara also clearly has just like a good social game / personality, in that we see Melissa and Big T just like put themselves off in a corner. Other people the other international put themselves off in a corner. Zara's hanging out with Mariah, Olivia, Michelle in the club. She's talking with them, having a good time. And like she might not be part of their group, but she's trying to form those individual bonds that we aren't seeing everyone make. So I think that's very important just to know because she's playing the game.
Well, and because I keep up with this like it's my job and it's not. After 38 finished filming, they all like went out in London one night and the UK had already wrapped and been on TV or like Paramount, I guess. And Zara hung out with all of them like the entire weekend. So, I mean, I know that her and Mariah specifically have hung out many times before. So I'm happy to see them still doing that.
Is it Zara and Hahui that were rooming with Nerys and
Olivia?
Olivia. I feel like I remember a blip from an episode, them talking about their room, and I remember it being Kahuli, and I was wondering, I think the other person might have been Zara. And I mean, she just seems like someone who gets along with everybody. Like,
Yeah. Which is funny because on her original show, I've seen clips. She was like mean. And I'm actually hopeful we see some of that. But
I
I
would
guess
love to,
stay tuned.
actually.
Yeah.
You don't need to be like cruel, but you can like.
Yeah, Caddy's fun.
Want some conflict.
Mm-hmm.
If she's doing it towards the men, I could use some cruelty. Some of these people have some very inflated egos for no reason.
Let's save that for when our bets come back.
Yeah.
Now we move into the daily challenge, because which is do we have anything before that?
When do Mariah and James come into this? Because I need to talk about them.
After the daily.
Okay, good. I just am really eager to talk about that.
I was ready to jump into that. I just looked at my photos like, nope, it was a daily challenge.
Okay, good.
It's a daily challenge. So it's a swimming challenge and it's a diving challenge as well. So not just swimming and then diving. They had 25 puzzle pieces under the water. There were 5 different diving sections of different depth of the water. So there are 21 players. They have to each get their pieces, and then after 4 players have to get the other 4 leftover pieces. They have to bring it over to a puzzle, put them all together, then bring those giant puzzle pieces over back to a giant station in the middle of the water, clip it all together, and if they get, for each one, they get $5,000, and if they get all 5, it's 25 times 2 for 50 grand. Now, this is a tough challenge because not everyone is as strong as swimmers, and the rules in this were a little bit not defined at times, I felt like.
I was
big challenge, though.
Yeah.
I didn't quite understand because when they were describing it, it sounded like everyone was responsible for retrieving a puzzle piece. Like, that's the way I interpret it, because they were having this disagreement when they were planning. Because they're at different depths, if there's people who are not strong swimmers, let's make sure that they can go to those puzzle pieces that are not as deep. They were like, no, that's too confusing. I was like, that doesn't sound that confusing. Because they were all, I don't know. It was hard to tell if they were all grouped together or not. Seemed like they were.
And they had to delegate what 4 were going to get those last 4 pieces. It was like it had to be defined. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was surprised that it was so hard for everyone, especially when there's diving, but there's literally a rope you can pull down. I was like, was I the only kid that when I was like growing up, when there was a pool, I was like throwing things to the bottom of the deep end and swimming down trying to get it? Like,
right.
Is that not a universal experience? Which obviously I know it's not a universal experience because not everyone can swim, but like,
yeah,
you got goggles. You could literally plug your nose and just pull yourself down.
Yeah.
Some people did great.
Yeah.
Ed got to show off. Ed is Aquaman, apparently.
Yeah. And I hate to say it, the worst competitor on this daily, for sure, Nerys.
Not even close.
She said in her intro package on like episode 0, Nelson told me I should be swimming, yada yada. Yeah. Yeah.
That to me, it seemed like it was psychological because she was so shockingly bad. Like it wasn't even a real attempt, it seemed like. And she also wasn't putting her goggles on most of the time. I'm like, girl, you gotta see. Like, you gotta be able to see. Put your goggles on so you at least know how far you have to go. If you're swimming blindly in the dark, you don't realize you just literally flipped over and came right back up. You didn't even go down.
Yeah.
And I think, this is my theory, they had stressed this point, everyone is responsible for their own puzzle piece, or so I thought. But I think potentially, because production does love Nerys and does value her presence on the show, that they let Ed go get her puzzle piece for her as long as she swam back.
Yeah, I felt the same way, because it was bad. Oh my gosh.
As a big fan of Nerys, when she's telling herself, Nerys, you got it, and I'm like, I'm hyping myself up like, Nerys, you got it, and she goes down with vigor, and then she comes back up in 2 seconds. I'm like, oh no, come on! I just wanted to see it happen, and it just didn't.
It was very much like a Tyra Banks, like, we were rooting for you. At least at the 3 of us here, we were all rooting for you, and I was just like, do better. Like, just
Yeah.
do better.
Especially as we just saw like Melissa do the same thing where she actually did accomplish it, where she was like, okay, believe in yourself, get this mom strength, and then she does it. There were some other standouts too. I will say there were a lot of really good swimmers here. Like Zara was like, I mean, she called herself a human coat hanger. I mean, look at her shoulders. Um, not mine, Zara's. But she was such zooming through that water. She's so impressive. Michelle's a great swimmer. Jay's a great swimmer. Emmanuel, Kieran, like Kieran could do everything. Like,
Yeah.
and then of course Ed is Aquaman. Like it was, you know, there's some really impressive people in this cast because we've seen some like really bad swimmers over the years. Like, you know, Chauncey, who's out here, is as bad of a swimmer as Nuri. So, sorry, it's just
No, you're
Charlie
right.
Murray, the man boy's already gone. But like, I feel like we've seen much worse swimmers on the challenge over the years than these ones. So Nuri's really did stand out for that reason.
Yeah. They
I was-
still won. Oh, go for it. Sorry.
No, like I kept like waiting for this like I won't be defeated thing to like take over. I was like ready for her to like put the goggles on her eyeballs. I was like, are you just not putting them on because you want to be pretty? I really was genuinely wondering that. And then like just go rogue and like take off your life vest and just pull yourself down because I think that's a challenging part to dive while you're wearing a life vest. That shit's literally pulling you back up.
Mm-hmm.
Like take it off, pull yourself down, go get it. Like, but she didn't do it. It wasn't a good look. She knows that, but she's protected enough at this point, and they've already decided it's a guys' week, so she's not going to catch any strays over it.
Yeah. Even
Yeah.
TJ says afterwards it's a guy's elimination,
Yeah,
which
that's true.
makes me
That-
think. Which
yeah.
makes me. I know we're done. Spoiler: they won the daily, $50,000 more. I don't think anything. Like, were there any standout puzzle people?
Nah,
They
it
were
wasn't
just
even-
putting triangles in places. Like
Yeah. So TJ says it's going to be a guy's elimination, which again could be production saying we like Nerys, let's keep her around, or it could also be, oh shoot, this season they look like losers. We just called these vets, and we're gonna edit them in the first few episodes and make it look like this was the intention. But here we go, because the clock has not always been in the house. We get the preview of the clock going in the house, and like then like, oh, what is this? So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't really care. I'm glad Nerys is not going in.
it definitely felt like production taking a step, being like, Nerys is not going in, no matter what. It's a guy's day, and just for even numbers of the next phase of this game is going to be. Along with that, just a little note. Raven had a comment during the daily challenge about Nerys. She's like, if this was me, this would look so terrible. If this was, and I was like, Raven, you're not wrong.
damn straight, she was right on the money.
Yeah, and something we didn't talk about that I think is important for the rest of the episode that happened daily, Huey would not shut up. Like in the beginning plan, while they're putting the triangles in, like he just would not shut up. And it comes from a place of wanting to be helpful, but it does not translate well.
A lot of our favorite reality TV stars are reality TV stars because they are not abundant in self-awareness.
Yeah.
And that was one of those moments where he just had no idea how it came off or how like it's fine, chime in, be helpful, say your piece, but like stop. Also, don't.
Yeah.
You got to share the air.
Yeah.
When you got guys like Asaf and Callum who are like, I think, speak their mind quite a bit and are like high energy, and are like, this guy's just too much for me. That kind of speaks volumes a bit.
Yeah.
As does Huey. Just in general.
Mm-hmm.
We move back to the house now, though. After the daily challenge, they have their money. And it is time for Big T's coming out party, which is news.
See, I thought it was common knowledge. Like she'd post on her story a while back ago, like something about like her loving women, but I think it is, again, I've already said twice, I keep up with the show more than I should. It's not common knowledge to anybody. So I thought this was a really cool part of the episode.
It reminded me of what MTV's roots are and what makes it special and like why shows like this came around in the first place. I guess in a way I wasn't surprised by it, but I also like have this like assumption that everyone that goes on MTV at this point is like a little bit on the bi spectrum. Or maybe it's just me being optimistic. I just hope that that's the case because I just want as many hookups as possible. So I was just like, oh, great. This is great. I'm so happy for her. But you could see what an important, monumental thing it was to her. Like, it was very clear. But one, the way she was talking about it. But two, just like, she's usually like really light and bubbly and silly. And she was like really inward. She was definitely happy and feeling loved. But it was really sweet. And I was really happy to think about just like how far we've come in terms of reality TV, like since it started, that she was getting so much support from the cast and just people like really embracing her and embracing this idea of a coming out party. It was just really sweet.
Yeah, I mean, and you got to see her genuine friendship with Melissa, which we've seen, but like Melissa was in tears, just so happy for her friend. And what was really touching was Big T saying, like, this is going to be a really hard journey for me afterwards, like acknowledging, like, this is going to air on TV and maybe I'll lose fans. And like, she gets it. So I thought that was just like such a real moment that, like, I'm so glad they had. Like, it just was good. And I felt like everybody in the house was supportive. I feel like the challenge maybe 15 years ago, this would not have gone the same way at all. And, you know, there are some faults to current reality TV, but this is not one of them. Like, this is a strength.
And I'll just say it, pride parties are fun. It's fun colors. People get to dress up. They get to have some good vibes. People get a little frisky and fun. It was a good time. It was good vibes, emotional. A lot of mess came out of it too, as we saw.
Yeah. Can we jump into one piece of the mess that we've been dying to talk about, or is that yet?
Go for it.
I'll let Zoe go.
Whichever one. Yeah, go for it.
I'm so excited to talk about Mariah and James. When she talked about that he is her type, I'm going to sound like a dick. I'm so sorry. I was like, girl, you need help. Like, you are this like beautiful young woman and have your pick of the freaking litter, and the first person you go for, at least like Johnny Bananas, there's a reputation, there's a status, there's what I was still like,
he's a household name in the UK.
He's a name that some people who follow certain reality TV shows know. So I was like, I'm not sure why, but okay, like you get one. And then she said James was her type, and I was like, what is that type? Like, he is just
she likes corny
like a
dad
Lego
jokes.
man. Like, he's just.
I think she likes corny dad jokes. Like, that's what she's into. Like, because she's into Bananas because she's like, oh, he's funny. Like, and she's kind of into James for the same reason. Like, I think she has a lot of muscular hot guys in her DMs every day. Because
I think she's talking physically, Allan.
I don't.
I think.
I feel like she could have the pick of her litter physically though. Like, that's the thing. I think that's. I don't know.
I think this is her thing. Like, and I have to consider Mariah is gorgeous. She's also jacked. James is jacked and a little like.
Yeah, so he won't be insecure about her muscles, I guess.
I don't. Well, yeah, I don't want to say something wrong here, but like, I feel like Mariah's jacked in a way that Jenny West was jacked, but like +2.
Yes.
And like, people make comments about Jenny West's body, which I hate because like that takes a lot of time and work. But Mariah, nobody's like, oh, she's too muscular, but she is like absolutely jacked. I don't really see her with a Kieran who has muscle for sure, but he's really thin. So like, maybe. But I want to jump in and say, I don't think she ever really liked Johnny Bananas.
No.
Like, we're going to jump around a little bit, but like, hey, that's part of it. She talks with Nerys later, and Nerys is like, I watched you last season. You were uncomfortable around him. Like,
because he's like her dad.
Right. You had to like really go a long season and then hang out several times at home just to feel comfortable, and you're still not dating. And yeah. I love Nerys, like queen of just like, a little bit messy, saying like, you did nothing wrong. Like, you didn't. And I don't think she did either, but like everybody else, Olivia was like, if I had somebody at home, I wouldn't do that. Okay, whatever.
Olivia being on her high horse about that was such a bad look to me. That really irked me because Narita is 100% right. They're not dating. They're not in a relationship. They've been doing this thing that they're doing for a year. And if you at the end of that year still have not established that you want to be in a committed relationship with each other, whether it's one person saying that or both, doesn't matter. Obviously, we don't know what they're saying privately, but the fact of the matter is they're not in a relationship. So she can do whatever the hell she wants. And
And I want to add, I don't know if you've been watching House of Villains, but like I have because it's fun TV. I don't know when that was filmed, and maybe I should do my homework on that. But Bananas on the last episode literally said, "My last two girlfriends have been so lazy, not driven. I worked, I made the money, I paid for everything, yada yada, like all this stuff." And I'm like, who are you talking about? But also on the show, he's hooking up with other girls. I'm like, this is around the same time that this show was filming. So,
who is
like,
he considering his last girlfriends who are lazy?
I hope one wasn't Morgan, but
She's not lazy.
yeah, she's not. But I'm happy for Mariah to get with James, even if it just means she gets away from Bananas, because A, it creates mess in the future if they come back, whatever. But B, like, I do think she is a young girl who it's easy to get wrapped up in like Johnny Bananas is the face of the show. Like being with him has opportunity. Like that's not a normal way to live.
I think it was really brave of her to
Yeah.
just do what she wanted and in a way like roll the dice and be like, I like this guy, I'm attracted to this guy, we have good chemistry, we're vibing, I want to see where it goes, I want to cuddle with him, baby make out with him, whatever the hell happened.
Yeah.
And
We cuddled. Oh.
there's some like back like Johnny Bananas has pull with producers, like, and it's not beyond him to be vindictive. Like I could see him being shady towards her in the future. So I hope truly that it does not come around to bite her in the ass in terms of being cast, because I think that was the best realist moment we've had from Mariah as a character on this show.
So I want to say, and this is like speculative, but it's not a spoiler because it didn't happen. Bananas was supposed to be one of these mercenaries, but when he found out that this had happened, he was like, A, I'm not going to be the butt of a joke and go in and lose an elimination. And then B, like, I'm not going to give her a storyline. So I could impact her future, which I hate to hear. But Johnny also knows what brings good TV. Like, I don't know if it could impact it that much.
Honestly, if that's true though, that's so him. Like
Right.
That's who he is. Like, oh, I can do everything to everyone and make everyone else the butt of every joke, but God forbid it's me and my.
I got a little anecdote. So Cara Maria revealed on like a live stream like years ago after Cutthroat that Bananas took Camilla's virginity, which is like was a real thing. Banana stayed on her neck for like 6 years after that fact. Like he hated her from that moment. I mean, literally even threw her into elimination with a broken hand. Like Banana is like that man holds a grudge. That man is vindictive, and it actually kind of like go Mariah for like taking that big of a risk, like a whole year dating together and like not locking it down. That's insane. And I hate to say this, guys. I think I like James. I actually like he. I know I can't believe it. There's part of it too of like he's kind of just such a ridiculous figure to me. Where like I don't take him seriously at all after seeing that elimination. He's just like because I know he can't win a final. Like if I'm a mile away from him and I say something mean, he can't run to me and attack me. Like I can't take him seriously. So he's just this overinflated character that I laugh at. I'm sorry. I kind of like it.
He's just an oaf. Like I don't have super like negative feelings about him. I'm perplexed by Mariah's taste truly because I think that she's so gorgeous and like I don't get it. If I'm like putting people on tiers where I'm like, oh yeah, they make sense to date. That tracks in my head. I don't get it, but she's happy.
Yeah.
That's what matters. Like.
Yeah. And it could just be like she was looking for an escape. An escape presented itself. I'm going to take that escape. So yeah.
Also, like I love a girl though. Like if it is a personality thing and she really just like likes him and has fun with him and that's what makes her attracted to him. I love that quality in a person because like I feel that. So I know I was being like judgy and whatever. He's not my type. But good for them. And he's fine. I don't have strong feelings about him one way or another.
Yeah.
It's just such a tone change because like before the season, I was like his number one hater, and now I'm just like I kind of don't hate him. I kind of like him.
You're number 3 now.
Yeah. Now, we also had a little bit more mess in the little party they had in Huey when they're playing the the game of like just talking around things like, well, who do you think is going to be going into elimination tomorrow? And everyone is like just starts laughing and be like, oh my god, did you actually just say that right now? And then he takes it a step further. Who do you think is most likely to cheat on their spouse at home?
And then followed it up with like, who's most likely to get like voted in next? Like, again, not reading the room, it was just, I did the same thing everyone else did. I was like, whoa, like, pump the brakes.
Yeah. I wish they would have answered. And they panned it on some people's faces who like allegedly might have cheated throughout the season. So I hope that it showed if it's true. But it's Huey.
It's so fun too because they show that in like the trailer for the episode, and I fully expected it to be like the Mariah James segment. Instead, it was the Callum Michelle segment where they panned on Callum's face, and every time we have these like emotional talks between like Callum and Michelle, he's like, I think about you all the time. It's so special. It's so special. I can't believe I really fell for you like this. And the producer's like, so how long have you and your girlfriend been together? Well, shit, it's been like we got together first a couple of years ago, and we're back together now, and it's why I watch reality TV. This shit's such a mess. I love it.
Yeah. And I feel like Callum, not to like count confessionals, but I do when I watch, he had a lot of confessionals. I really feel like they're pushing him to as somebody that's a standout because he's bringing a lot. He's competing well in dailies. He's having a showmance and cheating. It was also funny to look at Kieran's face because if you watch the Challenge Australia, he cheated on his girlfriend pretty openly and blatantly. I think he's single this season, but yeah, what a loaded question that is.
It's hilarious because half the cast are like would cheat, have cheated, or have been cheated on, and right. it was funny. It was Huey, exactly, like that's what it was.
Yeah.
Michelle in this episode, she had a confessional saying that Callum checks every box for her, which was like, because Luke made the comment a few weeks ago. It's like, oh, well, she's just here for a good time. She knows it's nothing serious. But it's like when you say, this guy checks every box I need in my life.
Well, that's not hard when you have one box that says, please be a good time. Check.
Yeah. I like the sorry mom, because I was like, yeah, I hope your parents aren't watching this. Yeah. But I'm glad she's having fun. I am worried about when she finds out what is going on behind her back.
And I hope it's on the show.
Me too. Oh God, that would be incredible. I hope we're that lucky. Sorry.
All right. Anything else from this party?
Let's see. Huey tried a s'more for the first time, which good for him.
One of those things where I'm like, well, did I really need to see this?
Really weird looking marshmallows.
Yeah. Yeah, they were.
Deliberation next. Yeah, I think we're into deliberation now.
Sure.
Deliberation was funny because we flash back to all these people who have done just a lot of talking and not helped their case. It's kind of sad to me because it feels like a lot of them went in with the idea that it needs to be Huey because before the deliberation, the Americans got together and said, hey, let's be realistic. Corey, who might be on the chopping block because Zara's really pushing his name, he might be messy, but just like Raven might be messy, he's also our number. So I'd rather someone that is 50% going to save me versus 0%. But they all kind of told Huey it was fine. And anytime Huey tried to talk in deliberation, like Michelle and Olivia were like, Huey, it's fine. Like, don't say anything. And that made me a little bit sad for him.
I don't think there was anything he could do to change anyone's mind about it. I wish it had been Corey, just because Corey had made this big point about saying that he would never choose Huey again. And I would love to see them test that, because when you're looking at the rest of the cast, I mean, if I was him, I'd just take a shot at James again because he's like very not impressive. But I wanted to see that tested because he made such a point of saying like, oh, I would never do that to him again. We've been working on our relationship. So I was really hoping that would be the case. But there was nothing Huey could do. And I think people just didn't want to sit and listen to him anymore.
No.
Yeah, the liberation itself just became this weird thing where like, oh, each guy talk about their strengths, and it just became a comedy hour, just like a weird, yeah.
Those women deserve that time back. That was a wasted hour of their lives. Like, I would have actually thrown up if I was like listening to all these guys list their strengths and how amazing they were. I would have just been like, I need a drink. If we're gonna do this, I need a drink because, oh my god, that was, I think, some of those men that a moment they dream about, just being to tell everyone without any like, I don't have to be ashamed. Like I can tell people why I think I'm awesome.
Yeah. I can't. The only thing notable from that was Jay having bad gameplay and saying, I haven't screwed anybody over yet. I'm like, that's not the joke you make right now. Like you just say, yeah, I'm loyal.
They just
Colleen had an eye roll when he said that. Like just knocked me out because she's just like, everyone here is just so bad at playing the game.
Yeah.
She's my favorite person. Like she's not talking at all this season, or like barely, but she's just my favorite person because she's like Jim Halpert in The Office. She just looks at the camera and is just like, do any of these people know how to play the game?
I could have done without her.
I like her. But I think it's because I just relate to her. Like I'm so, and I again, like self-awareness being so in such limited quantities. I'm like, oh, there's one that has it.
Like, yeah, that's true. I think her profession allows for that, and I think that's why I maybe could do without her because she is normal.
Yeah. But it gives us normal people hope, that like someday we could do this too.
Yeah.
I hope she has a moment just because, like, if not, I'm going to feel so dumb liking her. Because, like Luke said, she's not really bringing much to the table. And then the self-awareness just kind of doesn't matter as much because then she just ends up being a layup and gets taken out. Moving into the elimination, though. People go to vote in. James and Corey are red herrings, but eventually it becomes Huey. Votes get put on him, and what's crucial... Oh, what?
Was Corey a red herring, or was he
Zara?
just...
Oh, sorry, never mind.
The way that I viewed it, and sorry to interrupt, but like Corey, like I get why he wouldn't vote Huey, but like burning a vote, he just threw such a fit about it last week or like the episode previous. I was so glad he burned the vote because he is a hypocrite.
Yes.
Yeah, but Huey goes in. Sorry.
Yeah. And part of the steamroll vote of Huey is that Mariah had the first vote, which is like, as we've seen in these like voting moments, whoever has that first vote, it really decides who's going to go in because then people just tack on so easily. Where if Zara had the first vote and they're going to vote on Corey, maybe things actually do go a bit differently.
Yeah, it's a different dynamic that is changing the way that these eliminations have happened. It made me kind of yearn for that secret vote that we had on Challenge USA. Like, I think that is so much better. Yeah. Especially again when the cast is this big. Like, I would like to see some people try and swing things a different way, but yeah, Huey is screwed.
Huey gets put down there. He calls out Kyland, in part because Kyland was one of the few votes on him the previous week, and because they just have no game talk whatsoever. It made sense from a you guys have no connections, he's already gone after you type thing, but Kyland is a very strong competitor.
I wonder if Huey just looked at that and was like, I don't know who I could beat in this, and so I'm going to pick the person I have no social tie to. And I think that's what he said. Like, I don't, and that's an elimination you can't really predict other than a lack of stamina if someone's going to be good at it or not.
Yeah.
And I don't think like Huey watched the Challenge USA. I don't think he's watching it. I don't think he really like through these 4 daily challenge. Kyland's been good, but there's nothing really that shows that like he's a super great competitor. So it made sense to me. The elimination was boring. I'm willing to say it was boring. It was just players They threw a ball through a little maze to different angles that sometimes a little bit faster, through a little loop. Sometimes a little bit slower, and like find out how to get into 10 different baskets at different angles. But overall, it was just kind of like watching players like bowl. It wasn't anything special.
There was like little wrinkles where at first, like obviously, like Kylan would roll his ball and immediately follow it, where Huey has no athletic IQ, so he would roll it, and it like literally like bowling when you're like doing this thing trying to make your ball like hit the pin you wanted to hit. That's what he was doing, and then until people started yelling at him like, "You are wasting time by waiting." The most interesting thing about this elimination for me was. It was like a little back and forth in the beginning, then Kylan pulls away, and then Kylan's struggling for a long time. And Huey starts to catch back up. And you saw that moment of panic, which people have when they think that there's a chance that they could lose to someone that is a layup. And I think that Kylan has this persona with the rest of the cast that he's like very calm, cool, and collected, very confident, doesn't get worried under pressure. And he started to get really frazzled. And I think Horacio brought it up and said like, "Oh, I've never seen this from him before. He's like getting really flustered. Like he's not handling this pressure well." And I think one, like there's blood in the water, and all these sharks, all these men just saw that like if you can get under his skin, like you can get in his head. He's not invincible in this way that maybe the rest of them saw him. And I just think it's a really interesting dynamic when people start to panic when they feel like they're going to lose or could lose to someone they shouldn't lose to, and they don't want to be seen like that on TV. Because he was just like frantic. He would get back and throw it and like not even think. Every time he got back to the ramp, I was like, take a breath. Like literally just take a breath. But that's the layup effect.
And to further that, like immediately after Colin wins, he's like, this man's a champ. This man's a champ. I almost underestimated him like Corey. Like, it's like such a release of like, oh my God, my worst fear almost was just realized. But also, like Zoe said, like he looks mentally weak. Like he gets put under pressure and he can crumble.
Yeah, and I think that was a defense mechanism too. He's like, guys, I did really great because Huey's really great. Don't think that I didn't do good because Huey's really good. And it was like, no, you like Huey did fine and you did a little bit better. Like, and again, could be editing or whatever, but I'm just taking body language. Just his body language alone, he was worried.
Yeah.
I think production set up this elimination for a Corey versus Huey, a James versus Huey type elimination where there could be a big upset to keep Huey in the game just for entertainment purposes, and like the impact of Huey pulling off the upset would be such good television, especially against a bigger male competitor. It didn't work out that way, but I think that's essentially what they did to give Huey a fair shot against someone.
Yeah.
I died laughing when Huey literally did not see the box and just fell over it, and so slowly I couldn't stop laughing.
I showed concern.
It was such a Huey thing to do.
You showed concern? It was like
not for his well-being, but for just maybe for his well-being. But yeah.
Those are the funniest to me. When someone's like, it's like they're not gonna get hurt, but it's just like a true human fall. I don't know. I could watch those all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kylan,
yeah. Scenes from next week. The clock is ticking. The clock, which they're all like, wait, we've not seen this before. Yet us seeing it in the edit on every single episode. Sounds like a champ's coming. I guess we'll see. Do they say that? I mean, spoiler. I mean, they're pushing this for that. It's happening.
I think at the end, there's the cast reacting to someone walking in because TJ does the whole, to be the best, you got to beat the best. And
it's the little spike ball that CT throws down in the preview. Yeah.
Yeah.
Knowing the way the challenge works, they're going to have a daily challenge. They're going to get to the elimination. They're going to bring out the champ and then leave it on a cliffhanger to build up to next week's episode. I just like, you know how this show works. That's what they did on Invasion. Like they brought in the champ and then like, okay, cliffhanger to next episode.
Well, I wonder if the first champ is not such a acclaimed champ, and they're going to give us 2 episodes next week. Who knows?
It would make sense to start with like Tori and Devin or Tori or Devin.
I agree.
If you don't want to bring out like the biggest guns first, like they're going to save CT. I know I was optimistic about CT earlier. They're going to save CT. They're going to save Cara Maria. They're going to save, I can't remember who else we've seen.
Funny enough, Brad was posted on the cast, but he's not been in any preview. So I'm curious to see what goes down with that. Like, he's on the cast. We've
I
seen
remember
it.
seeing that picture.
Kaz is one of the champs that comes in, which screams, we hate our female champs. I mean, what? She won UK and World Championship, which power to her. Good for her. I like her as a human, maybe not so much as like a competitor on TV. But I just think like if this is Cara's big comeback, like we have a girl like Ashley who's really good at puzzles, who like is well loved by people, not just by me, is a 2-time champ. See, like Kaz is the only spin-off champ that is on the cast, so it doesn't really make sense. But I'm obviously butthurt because I love Ashley, so
Oh, Ashley's just the best TV too. Like she's one of the people, because she has so much heart. You can count on her giving it her all in that elimination. Like,
yeah.
It's a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
I just want to see the greatest challenger ever again, Kiki Morris. I just want to see her.
Please call her for season 40.
Yeah, I need Kiki again. I love her.
Anything else before we wrap this? This podcast has gone on for a long time because it was a 2-episode breakdown because they threw 2 episodes at us out of nowhere. We could have
It's a 2-for-1. That's what it is. I think we covered it. If not, got like 15 more episodes.
Yeah.
MTV in a week, finals this week now. We're just fast forwarding through it. We're just gonna, that's our episodes. Subscribe to us on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes. Follow us on Twitter, CF Confessionals. Have a great week.
Bye now.